Hey everybody, today I wanted to talk about style. Style is one of the most important things for any illustrator. It can be career defining, it can be something that is kind of all you're known for. Some people have very little substance and tons of style. Some people have tons of substance and no style. Style can be something that you don't get in your practice for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden it can just come out of nowhere, or it can be something that you work on over time, like we see with many manga artists. It comes in all different shapes and forms, like any part of artistic practice. But the reason why I wanted to look at style specifically is because of this piece that you're seeing in front of you right now. So this is part of the Pokemon series that I've been doing recently, which at the time of recording is yet to be aired in the most part. And essentially earlier today I gave one of my friends a little sneak peek of this piece that you're seeing here, as they were the ones that specifically requested it. So shout out to Adam, thank you for requesting Articuno. Not one that I would have expected. I quite like all of the birds, the original 3 of them. Didn't think they were as popular as they apparently seem to be, so yeah, really fun piece to draw. Had a blast doing it. It was not one that I was expecting to enjoy as much as I have done, but it really got me thinking in terms of the capacity which I did it. Has been one of the more interesting kind of checkpoints as me for myself as an illustrator, compared to my average piece that I do. And that got me talking to my friends earlier when I showed Adam the piece. And essentially, we got kind of talking about style and discovering style. Some of my friends are still at university, myself having recently graduated, and I'll be honest, I kind of graduated in the large part with one of my big weaknesses, and my lecturers will attest to this, being that my style can kind of vary from project to project. I initially kind of use this as a strength of mine in the sense that I enjoy dabbling in all sorts of areas. My portfolio has everything from animation, both 2D and 3D, to product design, to graphic design, to illustration, to comic books. I really like sinking my teeth into everything, but if you're going to make it as a commercial illustrator, and this is again something my lecturers will say to me again and again and again, is that you've got to know what your brand is. You've got to imagine person is coming to you, or they're looking in a big shopping aisle of illustrators and they're looking for a particular flavour, and if they're not sure what your flavour is, then they're probably not going to come to you even if you are very talented. And put that way, it makes a lot of sense, but again, it's easier said than done when it comes to just making a style. For example, in the past, when I've done comic books or when I've done long-term projects, having a consistent style is something that can get quite boring. If it's not something that you still find challenging, or if it's not something that you get enjoyment out of, then there's really kind of a redundancy built into a style, and obviously then it changes. And you know, for people like me, that's kind of what happens more often than not. I usually push myself in that direction, or if it came to any study work doing for university, I would be trying to learn something new in a space where I could afford to mess around with different styles, mess around with different practices. And I think that's really important for any artist. I think definitely that should not be taken away from anyone. You need time to learn and grow. But reflecting on kind of where I'm at in my career and things, I've been kind of in the art world. I've been taking art seriously since I was probably about 14, 15, after I got what called here in the UK GCSEs, and moving up into like further education. I kind of went, I'm being an artist or I don't know what I'm going to be. And so it's probably since then I've been thinking, you know, what am I doing? What do I want to do? And only really recently, you know, so that's getting on to, that's getting on to about 8 or 9 years ago now, that I've been sort of taking this seriously. And if you want to talk about professional, kind of getting paid to do artwork, you're talking maybe 3 years, I want to say, if we're talking casually, to now where I'm kind of semi-professional, I guess. And only just recently, in the past 6 months, do I feel, maybe you could say a year, do I feel as though I'm finally getting a grasp of my style. And so I think this is just kind of, this is me rambling about, you know, some of the thought processes that I feel as though helped me. I've gone through kind of putting things out there because I know a lot of people do struggle with this sort of process or this part of your process. And just talking to my friend about this today, I thought I'd realised how much some of these pieces had helped me recognise some of the hurdles I'd overcome, and potentially they can maybe help you too if you're another artist that is struggling with this. So, in no order in particular, kind of the first thing that I discovered really helped was separating professional mindset for artwork, a professional mindset, to a casual mindset. So I want you to kind of imagine, I had a great lecturer in my university with alumni who was really insightful. He runs a company somewhere in Europe. I feel really bad that I can't think off the top of my head. The lecturers maybe here in a bit ago, but his name was Freddie. He founded, or co-founded, I believe, a company called Snask, and really strong style, really graphic design, not illustration, but very tactile designs. Really interesting guy, super delightful to hear a lecture from, and I managed to get to ask him one question, and that was, do you ever get bored of doing work that is always pink? Because all of his work is pink. He says, do you ever want to do something in blue, for instance? Because at the time I was obsessed with using a very specific red, and I thought that's kind of what my style was going to be, always using red. But I'd been doing it for maybe 2 or 3 months, and I was sick of it already. Absolutely sick of it. And he went, oh, of course I get sick of using pink. I do stuff that's not in pink all the time. Just people don't see it, you know. And I thought, damn, that's crazy. So not only does he have enough time to do all this work that's amazing, but he then also has enough time to have fun with his work still, and, you know, have a portfolio or have a stash somewhere where he can put all that work, and that's just his stuff. And that introduced me to the mindset of separating professional art, your professional illustration, and that as a style, to the stuff that you just enjoy doing. For me, I took that and I applied it to comics. I thought I need to define a style for comics, which I have done. I feel very confident with comics, but my issue is that obviously there's not a huge industry for that in the UK. For those of you who aren't from the UK, comics are the biggest in Japan with your manga. Then you have US comics, which are still pretty big, but not in the same way as manga is. Manga is really the giant of the industry. And then you've got indie comics, and that's basically all we've really got in the UK, plus some obvious titans of the industry, but they're not very accessible. You've got things like in Europe 2000 AD, heavy metal, and here in the UK 2000 AD. But for me, comics was kind of the style that I really developed, and I started to understand the whole process of, okay, even if I don't enjoy doing it this way all the time, this is what I should keep consistent. And that introduced me to the next kind of step in the thought process, is that to actually define a style, you need to keep certain aspects the same all the time. I know it sounds pretty obvious, but you got to really nail down what aspects of a process you want to keep the same. I recommended to my friend today, try and pick 3 or 4. My friend was showcasing me some of their work too, which they've been working on. And it was of the same project that I'd done whilst I was on the same course. And I thought it was really interesting comparing and contrasting the different approaches. And for me, they had actually developed a much stronger sense of like consistent style over pieces than I had at that stage at my university practice. So my advice was, your work is really strong, really great compositions, you know, great color choices, great sketch work. But having seen some of their other work, I could tell it changed a lot. And I spoke to them, and they explained how they were going through this thing that I was just talking about of their need to go and jump between different things. And I said, that's totally fine, but pick a couple of things, and if you want a commercial style, you know, use this as a time to experiment with it and figure out what those things are. But then in a project, try and treat this as a play project, and then the next project treat it as a practice project where you're practicing for the real world. Take those elements, 3 or 4 elements, and keep them the same across every illustration that you do for that project, and see if there is a cohesive voice. You can take something like, for instance, Breath of the Wild's artwork. It uses very specific kind of tones of lighting, and it uses obviously cell shading. And those 2 things are very simple concepts, but they're applied across everything. You know, a style can be a palette, it can be level of contrast that stays the same. It can be all these different things. But the important thing is that you just keep them the same, and don't worry too much if it's limiting you. Having, as my lecturer Dwayne would say, limiting yourself in a couple of ways, giving yourself a couple of boundaries and rules, forces you to think creatively. And that's really where the enjoyment will come from, is find a set of rules that you can play with endlessly. And that is what I think is the secret to a really successful style. For me, doing these illustrations that you're seeing here, I discovered this style really from doing a couple of projects, a play project similar to what I was recommending my friend when I was responding to a book illustration. Basically, we'd been given a kind of fake pitch of illustrate one of these books, and I picked Dorian Gray. Due to the fact it's a book I love, I was named after the author, and I thought the illustrations had loads of potential, so I went, yeah, let's give this a try. And purely through, it was right when AI first came out. I was playing around with AI for a couple of days, and I thought, this is horrible, interesting ideas, interesting compositions, but I just disliked it thoroughly. And I did go into this project thinking, what can I play around with? What can I figure out that I want to take into further projects? Hated the AI aspect, and that's not just, I'm not against completely the use of AI, I'm against the use that it's seeing a lot of now, but that's a topic for a different time. But I was playing around with it, didn't enjoy it. I then went and did a more painterly tackle on the cover. Enjoyed the piece, but felt this is not replicatable. Replicatable? Is that a word? I couldn't do it again, basically. Third piece I did was for a very specific scene in the book with very specific lighting, and I had a very distinct visual composition. I'll see if I can flash the piece up for you now so you can see what I mean. And the shadows that were being cast in my idea and my thumbnails for the piece, I thought were very stark, and the idea that sprung into my head is, okay, let's take a design element and let's think about how we can combine typography with this. And this is something that, as a comic artist and as someone that had been experimenting with graphic design at the time, I really had started to kind of try and blur the lines as best as I could between the two practices. And so I instantly thought, okay, how can I get some strong graphical elements into an illustration, but keep it an illustration? I was thinking of things like Pixar concept art, your kind of stuff from things like Up and The Incredibles, where they were communicating really important visual ideas in kind of the way a graphic designer would do, but as an illustrator. And from this came some very simple kind of almost problem-solving ideas or processes. I went, okay, best way to communicate graphically is through simplicity. So I would do my sketches, do my kind of prep work, so on and so forth, and then I used the lasso tool and just really simply kind of sketch the shapes using, or sketch the silhouettes of the characters, sketch the shapes in the scene using the lasso tool. Made it very, very simple, no kind of blurry lines or anything, very graphical. And from there I just used some like rendering techniques, and all came together, and that's kind of the initial piece that the style you're seeing on screen now kind of came from. And from there I kind of enjoyed that. I worked on some other things, and then a few months later I decided, let's try and do it for real, and let's try and do a Peter Pan project, which is what you'll have been seeing the culmination of with some of my recent videos. And that was a very similar approach. I thought that worked really nicely. Let's play around with a few other things, see what else I can take with me. And from there the style has kind of built up, and I still do loads of work in completely different styles all that time. And I've kind of put it off a little bit because I thought, once I start doing this is going to be all I can do. And to a degree, there is a very heavy focus of my work right now on this style. But I still have all my other work that I'm still doing, and I'm still completely comfortable with being able to switch between, here's my professional commercial style, which I want people to commission me for. I want clients to go, yeah, we want this. And I want people to be able to go, that's what we recognize them for. Because I'm also completely comfortable with people also knowing me for other styles, but obviously not to the same capacity, or even just, friends, things like that. That, for me, is the style that I enjoy doing, which I can go back to whenever I want. And then there is this, which is what you'll be seeing right now. And weirdly enough, that's kind of what gave me the confidence to make this channel, is I knew that there was a strong, cohesive voice that I could put together and consistently do and enjoy doing. And that's one of the key things that went, well, let's just record me doing it and see if people can get enjoyment out of that too. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, the main points I wanted to tackle on style. It's kind of a much larger topic than just what I've covered there, but for me, those were the things that I've found from my recent experiences have helped so much. I hope they help my friends today, from what I was talking to them about, and they can maybe help you too. Yeah, this is kind of, I hope you can kind of see what's been going on with Articuno, and that's kind of all I've got to say for right now. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.